I'm ulting it. Alright, I got no sword. I meant to throw kunai, it didn't work for some reason. Ooh. I'm ulting.
A ghost entered the battle once more.
Yup, that was 2 insanely fast Ronin ults. The bomb pack is crazy. You throw it into crowds, you can get your ult charged really fast, constantly be rezzing your team. You're pumping out heals both with that and your ability, and you're doing good damage because of all the melee buffs I've got here, which I'm going to show you. And you've also got pretty decent CC with the kunai and the smoke bomb. Let me go ahead and show you how this build works. It's awesome because it is exactly what you're going to need if you're doing the Nightmare Week 2 challenge, Survival, the defensive AoE village on Nightmare difficulty. So let's start with the techniques. So of course I am running the heal. Deploy a small pot of incense that heals nearby allies. It's a great heal for yourself, for your team, and it's a circle, so it's great for the points, which are circles. So you pop it in the middle of the point, and your team's fighting in there. It'll help keep them alive. Very, very nice. And for this top tier, you're going to want to decrease class ability cooldown, so you can do that heal as frequently as possible. Yes, technically increased damage with the ghost on 50% would help your kunai. This is not a bad idea, but frankly, I find I get more value out of reducing the cooldown of the heal by, what would 15% of this be? 4.2 plus 2.1, so 6.1 fewer seconds. I'd say it's worth it, but it's perfectly understandable if you want to use the ghost weapons by 50%, because I'll show you that you can actually do a really surprising amount of damage with the kunai, and I'll explain that later. Next, you go with healing and received in health regen by 50%. Oh, by the way, it should be worth mentioning, don't run the weekend. I mean, honestly, this isn't a good perk in general anyway, it's not worth it, but in the nightmare mode, the enemies have a modifier called immunity. They have immunity, which makes it so that you can't burn them, you can't poison them, probably can't bleed them, though I haven't tested that, and you cannot weaken them. Weaken does not work, so you will be wasting your resolve and you're wasting a perk. Do not run that perk for this. You can see it right there, modifier immunity. That will not work. All right, continuing through the build. So yeah, next, you're gonna want this, 50% more healing health regen. This is amazing. You're gonna heal way more with your own heals, whether you ult, whether you pop your ability, or I guess if you're using a gourd, but we're not gonna be using a gourd on this build. On this build, you'll be healing way, way more by having that perk. It's not worth the max resolve. It's not worth more stagger damage. Way better to have this. And of course, Breath of Izanami offering a heal over time is going to be best for this. Normally, I would run this for the fire, but once again, there is the immunity modifier. The enemies will not be affected by your burning. At first, I thought my game was bugged when I used it, like, what's going on? But no, that's just that particular mode. The burning does not work. No enemies can burn, not even with the thing that you spend 400 currency on to ignite nearby enemies. Doesn't work. So of course we're going to be offering the heal, running the heal, and I'm going to show you exactly how this build works accordingly with the gear as well. For the katana, that's what I use for my legendary. Now of course this isn't like necessary. You don't have to have this legendary katana. I know this game is a pain with the grind. If you don't have it, that's fine. You're best off running a katana, like a purple katana that has water and wind stance. Water stance is the best stance in the game. That's what you're going to be sitting in like 90% of the time. You're going to use it against Oni. You're going to use it against swordsmen. Of course, you're going to use it against shieldsmen. Now, when the spear guys come around, frankly, I do really like using wind stance on them. I find they're kind of difficult to deal with using just water. You'll kill them much more cleanly if you have wind, and you can reliably parry their very fast attacks, so you don't get CC'd and damaged like crazy. Plus, I mean, that's not the reason why I'm using this. You can see for this legendary, melee attacks have a 20% chance to deal double damage. So this is also the DPS katana in a way. It'll pump out the damage significantly. And as for the modifiers, you can see I'm running melee damage plus 12%, Oni damage plus 10%. Are there other things you can use? Well, frankly, I'm trying to pump out as much damage as possible. Most of the things you're going to be killing on Nightmare are Oni, like most of the tough guys anyway, they're going to be the Oni, the big guys with the hammers, the guys with the spears, or the guys with the multi-bow shots. You're going to get that damage bonus, which is very nice. Alternatively, if you want melee stagger damage, I don't think it's worth it to stagger a little bit faster. Melee resolve gain to get more resolve. You're going to get most of your resolve from your bombs, really, when you need it. Otherwise, you're getting it at a good pace anyway. You don't want perfect parry window. You don't want counter damage. For Ronin, I mean, you're not doing any damage with your ultimate, so this isn't helpful. Ability cooldown reduction, nah. Stagger damage, so when you stagger an enemy, they take more damage. Now, I would say the Oni damage is going to give you the most consistent value, because some of those enemies are going to be really difficult to stagger anyway. You're not going to get much value out of this. So definitely melee damage, Oni damage, and of course you want water stance. This water stance is the most important stance in the game. I think wind is worth bringing as well, but you can decide that on your own. But at the very least, bring something that does water, and I would say these are the best modifiers. Now for the bombs, remember, status effects don't work, so you can see what are the possible modifications you could use. You could use status effect duration or status effect damage or melee stagger damage, blast radius. So anything status effect related is worthless, so it's very obvious, there's no debate. These are the two perks you should have, melee stagger damage and blast radius. So melee stagger damage makes it so you'll stagger enemies, you'll break their white bar above their health or stamina, you'll break it faster when you use heavy attacks. So that's nice. And then blast radius, so that when you're throwing the bombs, you're more likely to hit as many enemies as possible, so your charge will resolve faster. You won't really be using the bombs for damage that often. Sometimes you will, like if you want to finish off a guy, or like with the bears in the final wave, you need to wipe them. It's pretty good for that to hit a bunch of them. But really, you're mostly using this so you can hit as many enemies as possible, because this generates resolve like crazy, as you saw at the start of this video, so you can get your ult quickly to keep your teammates rezzed as frequently as possible. Now, there is a inefficiency in this, but as you can see, I don't have enough currency to re-roll this, and I don't want to risk, well, I do have currency, but I don't have that much. Flash bomb is useless. I tested it myself. I didn't think Flash Bomb would be affected by immunity, but it is. If you throw a Flash Bomb on this, it will not stagger them. Normally, a Flash Bomb, when you throw it at enemies, it like staggers them for a while, so they're vulnerable. It does not work in this mode. Immunity protects them from that. So instead of running Flash Bomb, run Black Powder Bomb. Now, you won't burn them. What Black Powder Bomb does, if you don't know, it burns them. Black powder bombs, when you throw it, it's a separate bomb in your bomb pack, and it normally does an AoE burn, which is really good for the fire Ronin build, but there's no burning, right? But I mean, out of these options, it'll function like a regular bomb, basically. It's better than nothing. Flash bomb literally does nothing. Assassin unlock your Ronin, non-assassin, that does nothing. So this is like slightly better than nothing. So, but it's not a big deal. It's just like 2 or 3 extra bombs in your pack that do a little bit of damage. They won't do burning, but they'll do a little bit of damage, and they'll stagger enemies. So definitely don't do what I did here. Go with black powder instead. Otherwise, same thing. Next, I run a melee charm because, again, I'm trying to pump out as much damage as possible while still being tanky and giving out good heals. So melee charm, of course, melee damage, you want that. And once again, Oni damage, just like the katana. Same thing, trying to get as much damage as possible. Now for the perk here, I run with health increase because those purple halberd guys can either one-shot you or nearly one-shot you. They hit extremely hard. So I like having a bit more HP so I can't get taken down as easily. It's very nice to do. You can't be reviving people if you're dead. This gives you more time to keep yourself topped off, helps you watch your HP a little bit more carefully so that you don't die, so you can revive your team. Very, very helpful. I like that HP increase. Although, to be honest, I would consider an adjustment to the build. If I had the legendary charm, there's a legendary charm where every 5 minutes, if you die, you instead revive with like 50 HP back, but it has like a 5-minute cooldown. I don't have that charm. If I wanted to run a more defensive build, I would put that charm, and then for the katana I would run just some water wind purple katana. Or another thing you might consider, if you have the legendary bombs, which I don't have, you could run those for a bit of healing, but personally I don't think I would use them for healing. I use them to get resolve, not really to heal people, so I don't think I'd get much value out of that. But that one charm that revives you if you would have died, it has a 5-minute cooldown, I could see value in that. But for maximum damage, definitely like this katana, because melee attacks have a 20% chance to deal double damage. Next, the kunai. A lot of people don't use kunai. Don't sleep on the kunai. I know everybody likes the dirt because it's not that much higher of a cooldown, but it's a guaranteed CC. But hey, give me a moment. Let me show you this. This is actually pretty good. First off, the kunai is the only one that you can get a melee damage buff from. It is the only one that you can get melee damage from. None of the other ghost weapon ones let you add melee damage. So remember, I'm trying to pump out as much damage as possible. I don't have burning anymore, so I need to squeeze out as much damage as possible, and that's gonna come from my melee weapon. So I ran melee damage. Now you might think, oh, but the other ones, I mean, you can get damage increase on dirt. No. If you hold right trigger and you look at damage increase, look, increases damage of all ghost weapons. It does not affect your katana damage. It affects your ghost weapon damage, not katana damage. But of course, the melee damage bonus increases damage from melee attacks, so this helps your sword. None of the other ghost weapons none of the other ghost weapon ones do this for you. So this is going to increase your DPS with your sword, which is what most of your DPS is going to come from. Now remember when I said with the techniques that, oh, maybe some people you might consider running increased damage from all ghost weapons by 50%? Well, obviously the sticky bomb would do the most damage, but it has like a massive cooldown. Kunai have a low cooldown, and they do good damage because, and this is very important, we're running the super massive perk right here. Deals extra damage and causes lighter enemies to get thrown back while hit. Now, this is a very good perk. This is by far the best kunai perk, because when you hit an Oni with it, even like a big Oni, it will stun them for a little. It'll stagger them, just like the dirt would have. It'll hold them still for a bit, and then smaller enemies, it'll like knock them on the ground. And these kunai do good damage. And then, but you don't have to have this damage increase. I'll explain that in a moment. But yeah, if you wanted to really pump damage into your kunai, then yes, this could be damage increase. You could have the Ronin perk where you do 50% more ghost damage. I mean, even I'm thinking about it a little bit, but honestly, I think I'd get more value out of having the cooldown of the ability as low as possible, because I do pop that ability extremely frequently. But yeah, if you didn't want to run damage increase, you could technically run cooldown reduction, but again, it's 30 seconds. 10% of 30 seconds is 3 seconds, or 15% would be 4.5 seconds. Like, it's not going to be a big difference. Cooldown reduction reduction on kills, sure, but I mean, when you're trying to hold a point, especially solo, you're gonna be kind of trying to move around and whenever you can, like try to focus down a target, but you're more focused on staying alive rather than committing for a kill and killing yourself in the process. So it's debatable. Any of these three would work. Obviously, stay away from status effect duration. That's not going to help you here. Any of the cooldown reductions or damage increase are fine, but definitely run melee damage. Definitely run super massive. These for sure keep them. Damage increase, it's debatable. You can run the cooldowns as well if you want. Whatever you want. That's fine. Now for Ghost Weapon 2, you have a couple options here. In the video you saw at the start, I was actually running caltrops, and let me explain why. Most people don't use caltrops. This is what I was using. Damage increase plus 18% status effect rate. Wait, no, that's not the one. Yeah, this one. This is the one. No, that's not the one either. Where is it? Yeah, this one. This is the one I was using. Melee stagger damage, cooldown reduction, and deep bag. So melee stagger damage, it doesn't increase, it's stagger damage, not damage. So it makes it so you can stagger enemies faster. None of the other ghost weapons do that. So if you want like something that's pure, like dedicated to the melee DPS, then you want to use caltrops, of course, because it doesn't increase your melee damage, but it'll help you stagger enemies faster with your melee weapon, which of course will indirectly increase your melee damage because when they're stunned, you can hit them more. Cooldown reduction, of course, because it's a big cooldown, and then deep bag, so you make a big radius. Now, if you don't know what caltrops do, it puts a little AoE on the ground of caltrops, and thanks to the deep bags perk, which you should run, if you're not running fire, then you should run deep bags, because that makes an even bigger circle. When enemies pass through it, they take a lot of stamina damage. So it's not them standing on it that does stamina damage, it's when they move through it. So you know what's really effective, how this works very, very well? The spear enemies, the spear Oni that like charge at you, they lunge at you. If you pop this in the middle of a point and they lunge at you through the point, it'll obliterate their stamina, almost wipe it instantly because they go like through the whole circle. They'll lose all their stamina. It's very, very effective. I love that. But personally, even though that's technically more DPS in a way, I like to run the smoke bomb. It's safer. Because everybody knows the smoke bomb, that's what almost everybody uses. You pop the smoke bomb, all the enemies are staggered, you can take a breather, it buys you time, and the enemies are vulnerable for critical hits. I'd be careful about critting though. I don't like doing critical hits because they're Hwachas, and if you are stuck assassinating someone and the Hwacha is aiming at you, it could kill you. You could die while assassinating someone. So it's not necessarily to go for the assassinations, be careful. Obviously, if you're an assassin, you've got the faster assassinate, you're fine. But otherwise, you probably most of the time want to do regular attacks. Just be careful. Bear that in mind, you have to watch out for those Hwachas. The AoE arrow attacks are gonna fire on you, and you don't want to be locked in an animation while that's happening. But this just takes a lot of pressure off of you. And of course, we don't care about stealth attack damage so much for the reasons I just told you. And I mean, you're not an assassin, so it's not going to make a huge difference anyway. We don't care about stealth. All the stealth does is make it harder for enemies to detect you. Who cares? That's not very helpful. But yeah, I went for everything on cooldown. So cooldown reduction on kill, just to get the smoke bomb up as quickly as possible. Now munitions, let me explain this. If you've played this game enough, you'll know that sometimes you'll see like little pickups on the ground, like just on the middle of a point, like little green glowy circles. You like interact with them, it'll be like 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 1 bomb, or 1 dart or something. That's this. If you pop the smoke bomb, it'll drop a little bit of ammunition for your ranged weapon on the ground. So guess what? As I showed you at the start of the video, when you use your bomb pack, you're throwing this into a group of enemies. You generate resolve extremely quickly. So you pop your ult, and then you want to have your ult again as quickly as possible just in case your team needs another res. Well, guess what? You spam your bombs, and then you can pop ult again. And then now, if you use the smoke bomb, because you have very few bombs, munitions will help drop some smoke bombs on the ground that you can then, or not smoke bombs, it'll drop some of your ranged bombs on the ground that you can throw to help you get your ult up even faster. So munitions is very, very handy in that regard. And that's pretty much it. That's the gear, that's the techniques. If you like this video, please leave a like and comment. It does help out a lot. I do upload a new video every single day, so make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out. I also stream daily on Twitch starting at 12 p.m. Central and ending at 4 p.m. Central, so make sure you follow me there to catch it on live. Link is in the description. But that's gonna be it for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you had fun, and I'll catch you next time. You see, you're getting eaten by bears! Bears! You laugh! They're deadly! They're the worst! You think demons are the scariest? It's bears! Look at him! Standing up in dominance! Die! No! Not Nyumsies! No! He's only man to watch you! Oh, but it interrupted him! Hallelujah! Why is all my light flash from the ground? Dude, I'm like not joking. Bears are the worst. Release me! Even when they're dead, they can throw you. Okay, we did it. Yeah, we beat it! Boom, baby! Nightmare survival win on the new one. Joe Bear Army. Oh my God! Freaking bears, dude. GG, we did it.